Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. One of the biggest problems that I notice that guys have, anybody I guess, but the guys that I've talked to, is staying solid on a mind, body, and soul program. And they usually fall apart in one or two areas: diet, exercise. For some reason, the mindset training is easier for people to stay with, but I'll be honest with you, mindset training isn't really that effective without the other areas of the mind, body, and soul program. So, you kind of have to do it all. You can't just cherry pick. You got to be in the gym all the time, putting in everything. You got to be on top of your positive affirmations, and you got to know when to do them. I've talked about this in videos. So when you're at the gym, you don't want to just be sitting there listening to your music on your earbuds or some book that you're trying to catch up on. You want to be running positive affirmations while you're going through that struggle. So as you go through struggle, you train yourself to think positively as you go through struggle. That becomes your default. When you go through struggle, you hear that rooting voice. You can do it, come on, push it, instead of that bitch shit that you've been telling yourself. That self-defeating shit. This is so hard. I don't know how I'm going to make it. I wish I had help. The gym is important. We learn so many lessons. Everything you do is connected. How you do one thing is how you do anything. People have a hard time just staying with it. They fall apart in one area. They stop with their spiritual shit. That's usually something that a lot of people stop with. They're not really into it to begin with. They don't really see the value of it, and they let go any kind of spiritual belief, any kind of religious belief, any kind of connection to a higher power, anything in that realm. They get rid of it all. They just become atheists, nihilists even. And when shit hits the fan, when your mom has cancer, when you have cancer, when something happens fucked up, the worst thing that could happen happens, and nobody has any answers for you. Nobody has any good advice for you. Nobody can really pat you on the back enough and say it'll be okay, because maybe it won't be okay. Who do you turn to then? Right? It's just good to be able to have that kind of additional source of energy within you, available to you at all times to draw from. I just saw somebody recently in my family go through cancer, very scary, chemo and radiation, and without all the tools to fight that, not just physically, mentally, and spiritually, how do you plan on really putting up a good battle? Or do you go into a battle ill-equipped, just wanting to get your ass kicked? So many people have a hard time keeping it up in one area. It could be simple, just staying in the gym. Sometimes we could be going through depression in our lives. We don't have answers for it. Nothing is revealing itself to us. Sometimes I like to have this expansive view, this idea that problems, they don't just work themselves out, they get working out, but I don't always see the solution. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but that doesn't mean that I won't eventually. I'll just keep moving forward, and this will unfold. As long as I'm doing my part every day and moving forward, even if it's somewhat blindly, this will unfold, and that has worked for me. And sometimes when we're having a hard time in our lives mentally, we're going into a depression, we're feeling weak. It's the best thing you can do is to stay on top of your exercise programs. Get more religious, have that be just like a religion to you. It's a lifestyle, it's important, it's a priority. Nothing can stray you from it. Not even the worst news. But so many people have one thing happen to them. Oh, my girl dumped me, so I stopped going to the gym. What's one thing have to do with the other? You should go to the gym more if your girl dumps you. I'm having problems with my finances, so I just stopped going to the gym. I stopped working out. People just lose their their drive in one area, and then everything else falls apart. They just slow down and sit on the side of the path and stop moving forward. I see it so much, and it's always just one area. Some people fall apart in all areas, but a lot of people really try, and you might be able to do certain things, but you never really get anywhere because a wheel needs all the sides to it. You can't just take a slice out of a wheel and expect it to roll. I mean, I've done this with myself. Just not stayed on top of things and let myself go. Usually when I'm feeling a little stronger and my life is going well is when I slack off on my mind, body, and soul training on my program. And then the house of cards gets wobblier and wobblier. The more time that goes on, the less you train, the more you atrophy. Any warrior knows that. Any martial artist knows that. But the real key inside is to be able to have that resolve to do what you say you're going to do. A lot of guys like to profess themselves as being a man of their word, being reliable. I've never been late for work. That kind of thing. But you have to be able to lay down the law for yourself and to follow it. Even if it's on the simplest things, especially on the simplest things. You have to be able to stay on top of your diet. You have to be able to put your foot down and say, no, I'm not going to eat this junk food. I'm going to drive past those fucking places for lunch. I'm not going to eat that crap. You may want it. You could run all that slick shit in your head of how much you can try to convince yourself, I don't have time and this and that reason, whatever, I deserve it. I mean, we all do that, but if you fall victim to it, recognize that's a weakness. Wherever you recognize a weakness is your duty to strengthen it. You have no right to be weak, as Jordan Peterson said. You have no right to be weak. It's your duty to be strong. I mean, if you can't put your foot down and say, with your own behavior, with your own mindset, and say, I'm not going to think thoughts that make me feel weak. I'm not going to act in ways that make me feel weak. I'm not going to be self-defeating anymore. And really put your foot down on it. And follow that shit. Watch how your life starts getting propelled forward. It's like you finally got traction. You've been spinning your wheels. You start racing forward like that. But that's the number one problem that I get from people when I talk to them is they just can't stick to it. They can't stick to really anything. They give up easy. And they betray themselves. They constantly, every single day, betray themselves by not being able to follow through, by having a desire, a goal that they really wish that they could accomplish, but knowingly not doing what it takes. I mean, if you have to be a tyrant inside your own mind just to get yourself to do the littlest things, be that way, whatever works. I have an inner drill sergeant that I let go, and he does his thing, like from that movie, what is it, Full Metal Jacket, whatever it is. Ernie, whatever his name was, he's yelling and screaming. It's such a great movie. I think it's Full Metal Jacket. I get that voice in my head. Get up. Get on your feet. Get moving. Stop being a little bitch, a little whiny punk. You know, and sometimes I have to talk to myself that way, in a savage, brutal way. Because sometimes that's all that will get me to stop being a little punk bitch. I mean, you have to be able to push yourself. The days that you don't feel like going to the gym, the days that you don't feel like eating right, the days that you don't feel like studying, the days that you don't feel like being on your program, are days that you're willingly accepting weakness. You're deciding to be weak that day. I'm deciding to be weaker. Let me just go and fuck myself up and be my own worst enemy today. I mean, that's what that is. So that's why it's so important to push past that. Every time that weakness arises and tempts you to stay weak, because misery loves company, we still always have a little attachment to the soft and weak side within us, and you have to be able to control it, just like you control your monster. People become really into that idea of controlling their inner monster, but you have to control that inner pussy, because your inner little bitch, your inner little pussy will take over. And sometimes it's good to let that motherfucker out. If you're getting chased by a bear, believe me, that inner little pussy might keep you alive. Run, motherfucker, run. But you want to keep that voice in control, because that voice will also hold you back in life, torture you with anxiety, stagnation, and that rubber band effect of you feeling strong enough one day to get forward, and then you let your little bitch, weakling inner voice take over, and you take 2 steps back. Don't go your whole life 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I've done that for long enough, and I realized that I just got to go hard all the time. Thanks for watching.